This is Providence Television International, the game changer. Yes, thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel Egariba. I'd like to welcome all of you to this program, both at home and in the diaspora, particularly those of you who are in the United States and Canada. I want to thank you all for all your responses for this program. The program is Prime Movers, and today our guest is somebody who you will find very interesting because it's not just royalty, it's also in academia. And I'm talking about His Royal Highness Professor S.C. Aduwa Okiegban JP, is the Noge of Ogbeson in the Pobauha local government area of Edo State. He's been the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Benin. That will appear to have been the zenith of his career. Well, first of all, let me welcome Professor Okiegban to this program.
Thank you, Doc, for having me here today.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you so much indeed. Let's start for a point that would be of interest to our viewers. You have retired formally from the University of Benin.
That's true.
Yes. How has life been after retirement?
Life has been good. After working for almost 37 years, I had to find time to rest, and it has been good. I'm no longer, programming myself to that 9 to 5 civil service life. So I sleep, wake up anytime I want, and do some other jobs around the palace.
Did you ever think of finding yourself in a strange place where you were at the University of Benin, combining it with your traditional institution matters?
Not really. I think being part of UniBen actually helped in the day-to-day running of my domain. It helped a lot because, when you have some education, you are able to deal with different characters, different people in the society. And since I've traveled widely also, that experience has been brought to bear into my way of doing things.
Okay. Back at the dukedom, as it were.
Yeah, back at the dukedom, it's helped me a lot. There's no question. Right from the beginning, I've combined the two very well. I think I did well.
Beautiful.
When I was combining the two, one of the things that I was doing was really delegating authorities, others to take care of areas that I may not have time to work on.
That's good. That's good. These 37 years at UniBen, all in the Faculty of Education?
Yeah, all in the Faculty of Education. That's where I spent that time.
Did you ever rise to become the dean of the faculty?
No, I didn't get to that position, but I got to the position of a Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Ekenwan campus. In fact, I was the first Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Ekenwan campus.
Oh, really? I think we have the image of, when you say that, this is Ekenwan campus, does it bring back some nostalgia?
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yes. We have some departments there.
Okay.
That is the art department.
Art department, yes. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much. Your services at UniBen, did they give you ultimate fulfillment?
Yes, there's no question about that. I thank God I had to choose the path, that is the teaching profession. I had initially wanted to be a broadcaster like you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually applied for a job in one of the TV stations around.
Really? Okay.
I didn't get a job, but I stumbled on this job in the university, and I was taken. So I never regretted one day that I chose this path. So it's been quite fulfilling.
Oh, good.
Actually aligns with the values that I hold in society.
Good. You served many vice chancellors. Can you remember some of them?
Yeah, I was employed in 1985, and Professor Adamu Beiki was the vice chancellor. You can count how many of them now, up till the immediate past vice chancellor, Professor Lillian Salami.
Yes.
It was her time I retired.
Oh, good. Good. And you became deputy vice chancellor under whose leadership?
Yeah, under Professor Orumesi, Faraday Orumesi.
Now, of all these vice chancellors, we're particularly close to Oshodi.
Yes.
Yes.
I regard him as a mentor because I met him there. He was already a senior lecturer when I joined the university, so he helped to mentor me, and I also pay tribute to another perfect gentleman, Professor Abraham Imogi.
Okay.
He was the one that actually gave me the employment, and also mentored me. We're in the same area. I got my PhD under his guidance.
Okay.
He has long retired anyway.
What perception do you have of Professor Oshodi?
Well, that's a perfect gentleman, very proactive, development oriented, and he's one person who you can say has the make of kindness.
Oh, yeah.
He's a very perfect gentleman.
You still miss him?
I miss him.
Oh,
May
yeah.
his soul rest in peace.
Good.
And incidentally, he's also my relation.
Oh, okay.
The grandmother is of the Ogigma stock.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, let's talk about this. I think I'm just curious. Are you connected in any way to any higher institution of learning?
Yes, I'm still connected to Uniben. When I retired about 3 years ago, there was a backlog of students that needed my attention. They were PhD, masters and PhD students who were yet to finish their thesis. So I'm still guiding them. There are about 10 of them. Some of them have graduated now. I'm still, helping them to work out their thesis. And incidentally, about 2 days ago, I was there. One of my students actually defended his thesis at the departmental level. So I'm there. I don't want to leave. You see, there was no senior lecturer to take over from me.
There was a vacuum.
Yeah, there was a vacuum. I had to cover that vacuum because I don't want to leave the students in the lurch or midstream and abandon them. So I'm taking on the job pro bono.
Pro bono.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. That brings you closer to Uniben still, even after your retirement.
That's true.
Now, on a program such as this, we cannot but talk about the factors that are affecting the development of education in Nigeria. Can you name some of them?
Yeah, one of them is inadequate funding. Many institutions are established without adequate funding.
Are you just talking about tertiary or also secondary?
All the institutions, from the primary to the tertiary institutions, you have primary schools, secondary schools, both owned by federal government, state government. Talking about universities or tertiary institutions altogether, you have the polytechnics and monotechnics established by federal and state government. Then talk about universities. They are not adequately funded. The truth is that UNESCO had a guide as to how much of a nation's budget should go into education.
Exactly.
Between 15 and 26%.
And we are not meeting that.
I don't think any government has budgeted up to 10% of its annual budget for education. So that results in shortage of teachers, facilities such as classroom, especially instructional materials. Then we can also look at inadequate training of our teachers. Even then you still discover that there are some people who are non-teachers, trained in different areas, meddling into the academic teaching.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be so. We need really to make the teaching profession a true professional field.
Yes, in his own
It
right.
shouldn't be
Yes.
an all-comers affair.
Mhm.
Teachers should be well trained. Apart from the training you get from the institutions, there are other ways of training teachers through workshops, conferences, organizing, seminars
Okay.
for teachers to take on current trends in education. That's one of them.
Yes.
We are also having poor infrastructure. You get
This
to
also
schools-
could be tied to funding.
yeah,
right?
it tried to fund it. All
Yes.
of them time they say I think inadequate funding is the key head.
Is the- yes,
Then you
okay.
now look at the subheadings as part of the. So we talk about infrastructure. You discover that apart from the buildings, I know that many state governments have taken it upon themselves to renovate many schools, but there are still many of them that are yet to be touched. That's why you get to a class and you see students sitting on the floor to learn. In some cases, you see the roof of classrooms are leaking, and then you discover that again, because of the lack of infrastructure, you discover that a teacher is subjected to teach up to 100, 200 students in a class. So, and that is a terrible situation to teach and learn. You don't have that, individualized learning taking place.
Yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes.
That is a key factor. We are now looking at a situation where you discover that there is policy somersault.
Somersault.
How many systems of education have we gone through? We have the 6, 5,
2,
3 system of education, which are 6 years in primary school, 5 years in secondary school, 2 years in high school, and then 3 years in university, depending on, that is the minimum years you can spend in the university. If you take on special areas like medicine,
you'll spend more
engineering,
time.
you spend more time.
Yes, yes.
You discover that there was nothing really wrong with that system. Even what we have today, with the new technology that is available, it could still have been incorporated into that system. Now they brought three systems of education, and then again we are now having 9, 3, 4. That is 9 years of basic education, 3 years of junior secondary school,
Has that really
3
been,
years of senior
has that
secondary
really
school.
been formalized? I mean, I thought it was in the rumor mill. For
Yes,
instance.
you now get to school, you ask students, they tell you they are in basic 1, basic 2, basic 9 or so.
Do people like you like that?
I don't like it because I just, okay, the 693 system they introduced now was supposed to be used to implement the Millennium Development Goals, which was fashioned by about 190 countries around the year 2000 or so.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
When you look at the Millennium Development Goals, there are about 7 or 8 of them.
8, yes.
I just think that it is really not meant for the secondary or primary education. Though some of the issues there can be tackled in primary, but I thought it would have been left for non-formal education. The Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Agriculture could have taken care of some of those.
If you were the Minister of Education today, what would be your panacea to all of this?
I will stick with the 6334 system.
But you didn't go through that.
I didn't go through that. I
Yes.
went through the 652.
2, 3.
3.
Yes.
That was what I went through. But with the 633, it was, the 6334 system is a good system.
Yes.
I just believe that it's poor implementation. Remember, when it was introduced, the federal government actually started buying equipment, sending teachers abroad for training. At the end of the day, you discover that some of the teachers refused to return, and some of the equipment were not known to us. So many of them just
left to
rot
rot.
away
Yes.
in cartons. And
That's true.
So the preparation for that system was faulty. When you introduce a system like that is supposed to introduce technology into the educational system, there should be a period of preparation.
Good.
So that preparation was not there. That is why you discover that at the junior secondary school, that is where the students were supposed to pick their career path.
Yes.
If you are, your area is in the technical and vocational education, if that's your interest, you are guided to go to technical schools or, prepare for the polytechnic.
The polytechnic,
technical
yes, that's true.
colleges.
In other words,
So
it was a terminal point.
it was a terminal point
Yes.
for those at the secondary
At
school
the
level.
secondary school level,
Yes.
yes.
You now discover that everybody after the junior secondary school, everybody now move en masse to academic. Whether you have a flair or not, that is one problem. And that is why today we are not technically developed to produce some of our basic needs.
Let me ask you this. I think it's vital on a program such as this. A lot of parents want their children to have degrees, one form of degree or the other. Whereas, I don't know really if this is worrisome to you. Why can't we have degrees in woodworks, in masonry, and all of that to encourage parents to also encourage their children?
I think the parents are the cause of some of the problems we have in our education system. I don't think any parent should try to influence the choice of a course for a child, because at the end of the day, a child may have a flair for technical education or vocational education, or may have a flair for language education or chemistry, law, and whatever. Because you are a lawyer or you are a doctor, you also want your children to take the same path. Is always it has led to disaster. Many students are unable to cope, and I think many parents are beginning to realize now that it's not proper to
I think so.
unduly influence
I think
the
so.
children to choosing career path.
Will you then advise that polytechnics you offer degree programs?
Yeah, I think I will advocate for that, because you discover that the dichotomy has been bringing a lot of contentions and problems. When they now graduate and they are now working, you see this discrimination is there. So, but something must change within the polytechnic system. A lot of things need to change.
Well, Prof, thank you very much. You are an expert in education, and some of the things you are talking about are newsworthy, actually. And I think that parents who are watching this now will take one or two things from you. Why are there so many? I must ask this again out of curiosity. Why are there so many out-of-school children in this country?
Yes, I think the last statistics that I saw revealed that there are about 18 million out-of-school
about that.
Students in Nigeria. I think the northern part of Nigeria holds a large number of that. Unfortunately, I think the problem, there are problems. A lot of problems associated with the out-of-school children. ranging from economics, security, and so many other things. At the end of the day, we need to ensure that security, especially in the north, is tackled head-on. I don't think we can pretend about that.
Oh, yes,
we
that's
have
true.
the means to tackle that problem. Then we also have the problem of poverty. There is a lot of poverty in the north, though it also appears to be so in other parts of the country.
Yes.
How do we eradicate poverty? I think that we leave that to the government. They need to utilize the resources available for the people, not just for a few people. It should trickle down to the common man in the street. If they do that, I'm sure part of the problem will be solved. I have never believed that this country is poor.
Okay.
I think we have enough money to develop this country.
Yes. Tied to that is, now that you mentioned it, is free education possible in Nigeria?
Free education is very possible. Even when we were earning little money in the 60s, shortly after independence, it was possible for some of the regions to promote free education. For instance, the Western region, which Edo State and Delta today belong to at that time.
Yes.
Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the premier of this thing, the Western region, actually introduced free education. The same thing with Ambrose Ali when he was elected, was it 1980? Under the UPN.
79. Really.
79.
Yes.
That was 79. So he also introduced free education.
He did.
And established a lot of colleges of education.
Yes, education, yes.
And scholarship and bursary were given to many students. I enjoyed that. In fact,
Really?
when I went abroad, I went on that scholarship,
Really?
scholarship, yes,
Oh.
to read for a master's degree. So and incidentally, remember that Ambrose Ali was the first governor to budget 1 billion in Nigeria. If you remember, he was the first governor to
and
budget
education
1
then
billion.
had a considerable chunk of
It has a considerable chunk.
Yes, that's
that
right.
was why, that was what led to the establishment of these colleges of education, many secondary schools, and even Ambrose Ali University today. If it was possible at that time when we were earning, small revenue, why is it not possible today? It's left for those in charge, those in authority, to get their priorities right.
Right. Are there curriculum issues, I must ask this,
Yes.
that hindering educational development?
If we have to, we are in the information age, and ICT is key
It's key.
to operation of any system, be it government, establishment, a TV station like yours, any institution.
Yes.
Do you know that there are some universities in Nigeria where students study computer and they cannot do any programming?
That's amazing. That's terrible.
I'm telling you the truth. This is the fact. Some universities don't even have
Computer lab.
computer laboratory to teach their students.
Are
Some
you-
of
are you
them
serious about
I'm
that?
telling you. I'm telling you, when I finish, I can give you names of university and go and try and
Okay.
see what is happening.
Most of them are
I'm
private
just-
or government owned.
Mostly, I've been dealing with public universities.
Yes,
I've
yes.
not had time to delve into public universities. I've done a lot of research on public universities, and I can assure you that I have enough materials to cite for what I'm telling you now.
So you can't be
Yes,
sure
sir.
of the graduates churned out from such universities.
Oh, that's
what you're saying.
that's another thing entirely. If you want to interview people for a job here, advertise, get some, people to come around and you interview them. I bet you'll
You'll be shocked, yes.
be shocked what you see.
I know.
A lot of students, they graduate, they cannot string if they write a full page, you are probably going to discover that they cannot string sentences together.
That's a tragedy, isn't it?
It's terrible. It's terrible. Is this issue of the policy of industrialization of education, where you have something like a production line? You want to turn out quantity rather than quality. I once taught at a lecture theater that's made up of over 1,000 students. So using public address system. But then I don't know how much you get to the basic.
Exactly.
Of the,
exactly.
Is a big problem. You get to classes, you see some classes, some students will be out at the window taking lectures because the hall is filled up. These are some of the problems we are having. You go to public primary school, you see the teacher will be standing and contending with the blackboard because the class is filled up.
Yes, to the brim.
Yeah, to the brim. In those days when we were in school, you don't see more than 20, 30 students in the class, and you have that individualized attention that is given to you by the teacher.
Yes, exactly.
You can, if you give a test, for instance, arithmetic or math, you could easily mark within 20 minutes. But if you have 100 students in the class and you are testing it, you can't do that. It's impossible to do that in these days. We need to provide more facilities so that employ more teachers, so that we give personal attention to students in the classroom.
Have you ever heard of this? I mean, in this part of the country, people say, rightly or wrongly, I don't know, but they say education is a scam. Has it ever come to you?
I've had people saying that education can never be a scam.
It can never be a scam.
We've had a few people in the country who didn't have that education, and yet rich. They were able to manage themselves and become even millionaires and billionaires. But how many of them are there? How many of these people belong to the older generation? If you lack education today, I don't, except through fraud, or some other, underhand things, I don't see how you are going to. We know in Nigeria today we have a lot of rich people. Some of them may even be richer than Nigeria, but where is the wealth coming from?
Exactly.
You need to ask.
Exactly.
Yes. Education is not a scam.
It's not a scam, and it can never be. It's a pity that some of our young people talk about this. It's really tragic. However, we are racing towards the tail end, and just a couple of questions more. Why do we have what will appear to be a proliferation of universities?
I don't think there's a proliferation of university in Nigeria.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Let me make a comparison here. The state of California has slightly less than 40 million population, about 39 point something.
Yes.
They have about over 130 universities. Nigeria has just 200 and over 200, and we are complaining. I think the main problem is this. When we establish institutions, not just universities now, we need to provide enough wherewithal for the operation of that institution. I think that is what is lacking. That is what is really lacking. We need to build an institution that is what is named. Provide all the necessary facilities, provide for the teaching, provide for instructional materials, and you discover that, for instance, in the public secondary schools, you don't find laboratories.
That's true.
Science laboratories, technology laboratories, you don't find them. In the universities, you also discover the same thing.
Public
universities. I'm talking of public universities. You discover that you don't have enough facilities, you don't have enough laboratories to teach, especially in the technical areas. I
Does
don't
this
think.
also apply to the first generation universities?
Yeah, the first generation university is suffering due to this same policy somersault and all that. You can see now that in the global ranking of universities, Nigerian universities are lacking behind.
No, far, far behind.
They are far,
But it
behind.
wasn't quite
Even
like
far
this.
behind South Africa.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
But time was when University of Ibadan
yeah,
was
was,
among
yeah.
the top 40
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah. So it's still the problem of inadequate facilities, inadequate teaching personnel, and provision for lecturers to attend conferences.
Will you therefore say that
international-
private universities are virtually taken over?
They seems to be taken over because you discover now that the latest ranking, 2 private universities at the top
At the top, yes.
are owned by the same person also.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, we do not say that the public universities are better.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
All right.
We'll leave it at that. Let's. This is the end point, really. Will you ascribe a 5-year single term for vice chancellors?
I think that system was actually introduced by General Abacha, and that decision was informed by the fact that there was so much, wranglings,
Yeah, rancor and everything.
rancors,
Yes.
and that are associated with appointing university vice chancellor. I think the 5-year single term is adequate. It's okay.
Well, we cannot thank you enough, Professor. His Royal Highness, I must not forget that. His Royal Highness, Professor S.C. Aduwa Ogiegman, Justice of the Peace, is the Enogi of Ogbesan, but is also, in his own right, a Professor of Education. So we thank you very much. He has his heroes, but he also has his, I won't say about sport for educational development, but obviously he has talked about many of them, for instance, funding. Is the top burner. I say heroes because he mentioned the late Professor Oshodi as a gentleman who he admired so much. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, and I hope that anytime we call on you again, you will be around to answer our call.
I would always like to make my contribution
Yes,
to the
thank
growth
you.
of society.
Thank you. That's our bit for today on Prime Movers. We'll see you again same time next week, I suppose, with another guest. For now, all my love and prayers. This is Emmanuel Egariba in Benin.